rolling. I'm going to go down to the next, like 2 down. That's 16 by 9. That's probably the format they have it in.
Yeah, it is 16 by 9. Okay. So, welcome. I'm Eric.
I'm Wesley.
And we're members of a Charleston area robotics team. And this is Competition Robotics and Why You Should Care. So, first, robots. Everyone knows probably what they are. But for competition robots, you have to get them inspected sometimes. And sometimes you forget that. So in this comic, the blueprint shows a really cool design where there's an umbrella, some cool fire stuff, and the robot inspector's trying to inspect it, and there's a problem or two wrong with it. And they realize there might actually be a game manual for this kind of thing. So a little bit about our team.
Yes, everything we build, Eric does make us rebuild. Typically because there might be an issue or something with it, but usually just because he thinks it's not right, so we end up rebuilding the same thing we built before. It's not fun. Honestly, depending on where all the screws are, it can be hard. And depending on what the design was, we might mess it up the second time we build it, and it was perfect the first time.
So this slogan was on one of our earlier T-shirts, where we were trying to think of like a fun thing that like we like to talk about our team, and like a running joke in the team is that like I'm like always like having them redo stuff that like they don't think is necessary, and like it like in the end, in the grand scheme of things, like some things end up being necessary that don't seem necessary in the beginning. So Charleston area robotics team originally started out as a first tech challenge team, which we'll get into later, at Charleston Catholic High School here in Charleston. And the team later grew and started meeting at the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, where we had no longer any as many Charleston Catholic students, and began to have students from other schools in the county. And now we have students from, I think, 4 or 5 different counties in the greater Kanawha Valley region. And today our team composes of 9 different members, ranging from early middle school to me being a high school senior. And if you're interested, you can actually visit us at cartwv.org. And a little bit about me. This is my 4th year at HackerCon. First 3 years, it was just where you are, listening to the interesting speakers, going to the talks, listening to the classes, following along kind of thing. And this is my senior year at George Washington High School. And I'm excited to be moving on to college and planning to major in computer science. And this is the slogan that was on my shirt, while everyone else had the other slogan. So the format of most competitive robotics competitions are a series of probably roughly 40 qualifying matches, where each match is roughly 3 minutes long, where the robots are competing on a 12-foot by 12-foot foam playing field, surrounded by a roughly 1-foot plexiglass wall to protect anything from going out of bounds if anything were to go wrong. And each match begins with a short autonomous period to have your robot operate all by itself without any intervention from any drivers. And this helps to reinforce programming skills among the teams, and to let teams that are very good at programming show their strengths. And after the autonomous program, there's a driver control period for the rest of the roughly 2 to 3 minutes, where teams are able to drive the robot as most RC cars would be with a remote control. So do you want to go over robot restrictions? So each competition, whether FTC or VEX, which we'll get into later, has different rule sets, but in general, robots are just required to fit into an 18 by 18 by 18 sizing cube, which makes the robot roughly as large as this one before it expands during the match. And there's a limited amount of parts that you can use, and it depends on the competition again. But the robots all must be made only from those parts, be able to move on their own, and not pose a hazard to anyone involved in the game or cause the mat to be damaged. And the VEX robots that we're working on sadly do not run Linux as much as we'd hope they would. They're actually controlled by a real-time operating system running on a custom ARM processor in a custom platform. And speaking of robot design and building, here's a more detailed comic about that robot we saw earlier. So they're designing the robot, and they're thinking of some cool new features for it. And then at the beginning of the match, in this bottom left, what they have is the field, and then they have the robot starting to expand. And as they're getting ready for the competition, what it does is it takes a lighter and then takes it up to the sprinkler system, and then lights the lighter and sticks it right up, releasing water down all over the match. And then they put their little umbrella up, and then they have complete control of the field. So innovative solutions are usually the key to winning here. Okay.
All right, so objectives and scoring. Every year there is a new challenge. It's hardly ever the same. You do use the same field, just the different objectives and what you have to do, what you have to get to are different. This year, this is the field setup that we're using. You need like a ball shooter to hit the top two flags, and you can lift up the caps like we have here and put them on the taller poles, as you can see those. Last year it's something completely different, but it's this exact same field.
So here's some games from several years past, where the center one, or the top left one, the teams had to climb up the center structure and also move some of these rings around. And then below that, in clean sweep, they had to move these little objects across this wall into their scoring areas. And then gateway, there were more scoring objects they had to move around, but each year they changed the scoring objects, so you can't use the same mechanisms in order to not disadvantage certain teams. And in toss-up, there were these large, exercise kind of balls where you would have to move them around, where they're a significant portion of the size of the robot. So it made it relatively difficult to design mechanisms to grasp them, and you had to be relatively creative on how you did that. So here's a video showing the competition for this year that this robot's designed to compete in.
Welcome to the world's...
Hopefully we're going to be able to get it to play on the thing. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about. No, I mean the audio.
Welcome to the world's greatest 2 minutes in robotics. The 2018-2019 game, VEX Robotics Competition, Turning Point. Turning Point is played on a 12-foot by 12-foot field by two alliances, one red and one blue, made up of two teams each. The object of the game is to score more points than the other alliance, using caps, flags, balls, and platforms. Caps are scored for the alliance whose color is facing up at the end of the match. Caps are 9 inches wide, and robots can possess one cap at a time. Caps scored on the foam tiles are worth 1 point each. Caps scored on posts are worth 2 points each. Flags are scored for the alliance whose color is facing towards the field at the end of the match. Low flags are worth 1 point each. High flags are worth 2 points each, and can only be toggled by being hit with balls. Balls are 3 inches in diameter, and robots can possess up to 2 balls at once. The platforms in VRC Turning Point are used for parking. Robots that park on their own alliance platform at the end of the match will receive 3 points. Robots that park on the center platform at the end of the match will receive 6 points, but they'll have to hold their ground because there's not much space up there. The VRC Turning Point field has 8 caps, 6 posts, 9 flags, and 20 balls. There are 2 alliance platforms, 1 per alliance, and 1 center platform. Robots will begin each match with 1 ball as a prelude. Each match begins with a 15-second autonomous period, where robots will score on their side of the field without any help from their drivers. The alliance that scores more points in the autonomous period is awarded with 4 bonus points added to the final score at the end of the match. The 1 minute 45 second driver control period begins once the autonomous bonus winner has been determined. At the end of the driver control period, after all objects and robots have come to rest, the match will be scored to determine the winning alliance. Detailed rules and game information for Vex Robotics Competition Turning Point can be found at roboticseducation.org or vexrobotics.com. To register a team, find events near you, or ask a question on the official Q&A forum, be sure to visit robotevents.com. Best of luck on a great 2018-2019 season, and we'll see you on the playing field.
So now that you've seen what we're planning to compete in, we can now talk about another similar competition, FTC. So FTC is very similar to Vex, where they both compete on a 12x12 playing field, but each year they have different challenges with different game mechanics and different game objects. Typically, FTC's challenges are more complicated, and they have more things to do at once, so you have to choose more what you want to do. And our team has chosen in the past 2 years to compete just in Vex and not to compete in FTC due to the lack of competitions in West Virginia. There's probably like 6 to 8 Vex competitions each year, whereas there's only one FTC challenge each year, or one FTC competition each year, which limits our ability to really compete and like improve. And also, FTC has more expensive materials, though arguably better materials to construct robots with, which there's pros and cons with, which means advanced teams are able to do more, whereas less advanced teams like are more disadvantaged because they don't have access to the like most advanced stuff that the other teams do. And overall, like it depends on exactly how much each club like is able to invest in like both time and money wise into the program, as to whether it's a better decision to choose Vex or whether to choose FTC. So as part of FTC, there's a skills challenge which allows teams to compete directly against the clock and rack up points as quickly as possible rather than having to fight against other robots, which this allows teams to like have a definite like path to like success where they're not like relying on another alliance partner or like relying on an enemy team not like beating them in a competition kind of thing. So like there's 2 types, programming and driver skills, where programming, the robot completely drives itself for a full 60 seconds and scores as many points as it can. Whereas driver skills, it's fully driver controlled, where the driver does everything, basically just like a giant RC car. And in each team, there's several things that have to go on each season, where the team has to strategize based on like the challenge they're given. They have to design, build, and program their robot, and prepare for the competitions through talking about like strategies for during the competition and like gathering resources and organizing logistics and stuff like that. And like to be a successful team, you have to have all of these things. Initiation, where you've got like sufficient resources, like sufficient time and manpower, and you've got sufficient access to financial resources like budget and like ability to like purchase new components as they come available and as you need more components for your robot, and ability to plan and like have project management where you can like think about like what you're doing as a team and like what your end objective is and like how you're going to get there. And then also you have to be able to actually compete in the challenge where you have a robot and like you're able to successfully win awards and be successful. So now that we've seen a little more about like the atmosphere around the game, let's actually watch one. So this is beginning the autonomous period. ending the autonomous period. They're counting up for the autonomous bonus right now.
4, so that's 4. And then that's 5, 8. They got it both marked. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They got 4, 6, 9. Blue and by 1 point. Did they not? No. The top one for blue, 4. And then bottom one's 1, so that's 5. And then they parked, and then they said they got 8. Oh, and then they got the 2 tabs. Oh, yeah. I don't know if
Hey, while we're waiting for the termination, I just want to say to everybody, thank you again for coming out today. If we can give a great big hand for all the volunteers, the parents, the students that came out, all the people that make this event possible. Take those logs, multiply by 100, and that's really where we should be. These people are working really hard, and guess what?
I think that was actually the end of the match. I wasn't paying attention there. So the different levels of the competition. So like as you're like beginning your experience as a VEX team, the first thing you're gonna the first events you're gonna compete at are gonna be scrimmages, where they're not for any actual credit, but they're a good time to like test your robot out against other robots and test how you work with other teams and like what you should work on and like what you're good at and like how you can develop your robot for the later qualifiers. So qualifiers are ones that will actually like get you like advancing towards like progression towards worlds, and will like if you win at a qualifier, you'll go to the state championship. And at the state championship, and actually at each of these, there will be a system of qualification matches, like I'd mentioned earlier, where the top teams that win the most qualification matches will advance on to a final system where the teams will pick alliances through a selection process, and then will be able to advance like through the final system until there's one alliance that is the top dog, basically. And then at the state championship, there are like you can get into the state championship through either winning a qualifier or winning certain awards at qualifiers, like the Excellence Award for an all-around very good team, or for like the Inspire Award for being an inspiring team towards others and like outreach towards your community. And at the state championship, there's also skills competitions where teams can compete based on their scores rather than being directly pitted against each other. And then the winners of the state championship, and also generally the Excellence Award winner from the state championship, gets to advance onto the world championship, where teams from all around the world get to compete together on a global stage in Louisville, Kentucky. So while most of the programs that I had talked about previously were designed for middle and high school students, there are also programs that are designed for younger students in elementary and middle school that don't really have the ability to like have a full-time commitment, and are also like could do it as part of a class rather than as an outside activity. So there's VEX IQ and FLL, First Lego League, for students that are in elementary and middle school that would like to like get a taste of robotics but aren't quite ready for the full fat like VEX like robotics competition experience kind of thing. And there's like drag and drop programming and a lot of easy like low barrier of entry like features that make it a lot easier to approach than like getting in for the first time in VEX competitions. Want to take VEX U?
Well, okay, so VEX thing is just regular VEX at university college level. Some of the restrictions are not like as harsh. Like the VEX, regular VEX, this robot is only allowed to be 18 by 18 by 18, like inches total, and then they have kind of like the angle thing that they use to measure it to make sure you can be disqualified if your robot is too large or any parts that shouldn't be there. They do have different sensors like you can use for for the robot in general. Like there's sometimes tape on the field that you can use for the autonomous period. And it's 1v1 rather than 2v2. So that's kind of an advantage. Some teams that'd be a disadvantage because you're like, depending on the challenge, one robot could do one thing while the other could do the other instead of one having to do all of them in a certain amount of time.
So now we've come to the you part. So where do you come into all of this? The program is rapidly expanding in your state and needs your help. There are several ways that you can help. You can coach a team, help create this drive for computer science and mechanical engineering and all these other great things in your community. You can one-on-one have problem-solving sessions with your team, and you can create amazing experiences for youth that previously wouldn't have had that experience. And for me, robotics was another one of the ways that I was able to experience computer science, and it was another one of the reasons I chose computer science. I'm choosing computer science to major in, is that robotics is such an interesting thing to me that it's hands-on, real-world, hardware kind of usage of computer science, and it's not just software and applications and security and stuff. There's applications of that kind of stuff elsewhere, but this is one big program that's very easy to get students engaged in and get them into computer science, and also maybe moving them on to other things like cybersecurity and other stuff like that that have less initially interesting but still very interesting once you get into it kind of thing. So you can also host a scrimmage at if you've got a facility that's you would like to have people use and fully take advantage of the full space. You can host a scrimmage if you're not ready for having a full competition at that location. You can have teams come over and practice and meet up and meet at your facilities and use your facilities and work with your teams and that kind of thing. It really does mean a lot to the teams, and it does lead to greater outcomes kind of thing. You can volunteer at a competition if you're just an individual. There's tons of things you can do. There's field reset, there's judging, there's refereeing, there's inspection, there's all kinds of different things you can do as an individual to help with the competition if you can't commit to being a coach or to hosting a scrimmage or anything like that. And also, if you don't have time, you can also help sponsor a team, whether you're a company or an individual. There's great fundraising that has to go on to be able to make these programs successful and to actually promote this education for the students. So here's some helpful sites for VEX, for example. So vexrobotics.com is a great location for looking at what we're using to compete and what our limitations are and what we can do and stuff like that. And there's educational resources for if you're a teacher or you're advising a teacher on what the best course would be for trying to get students engaged in computer science. Robotics is a really good way to do it. And another one is robotevents.com, where you can see all of the VEX competition dates in your area. And I think there's competition coming up in 2 weeks in Ripley. And then Bridge Valley in mid-February. So I'd highly recommend you stop by. And do you have any questions or comments? So the slides will be available online at this link if you'd like to take a picture. And then if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to send via email, I am Eric Hamilton. You can send it to my email there, or you can send your questions or comments to Ryan Utzman, the leader for West Virginia VEX. And he runs the state competition and is in charge of organizing teams and locating venues for all the competitions. So does anyone have any questions? Absolutely. Who'd like to go first? Anyone? Yeah. Okay, come on up.
I assume there's no more actual slides, right?
No more actual slides, no.
I'll go just speak so that we can see the robot in the frame.
And if anyone would like to take a look at the programming and ask any questions or anything like that, I'm available for that too. Yeah, put it on the floor.
How heavy is that?
Programming.
So it's what's the framing? Is it like aluminum?
It's aluminum or steel. Currently, ours is steel, basically because we don't have the money for the aluminum because it's like 2.5 times the cost,
Oh yeah.
and it gets damaged a lot more easily.
Yeah, because it's more malleable.
Yeah.
So what's the software part of this?
So here, let me get this to be mirrored, and then.
Oh yeah. I don't use a Mac. I use a Windows, so I can't help with that.
I mean, it's available on both. So.
Yeah.
Crank that up. I think you might, if you loosen it, I think it.
So, what our team does is we use Pros, which is based on like real C, like straight C and C++, with just frameworks added.
Okay.
So, like this is just like a really basic one, and like what we do is like we have like we're beginning to get into the object-oriented C++ stuff where we were previously just using plain C because we just upgraded to this new system.
Okay. Now, I'm not well versed in this.
Yeah.
But what kind of thing would you be using? Are you using like basic stuff to like? What I'm trying to ask, I think, is where are you using an algorithm that basically detects and then modifies code to make certain moves to make it, or if
with at least at the high school level, there's not really any. There's only 15 seconds of autonomous, so it's not really
it's not
worth it
but
to like make fully adaptable code like that. Pretty much, it's very much just scripting language kind of thing.
now,
where you're
like,
doing one thing after another.
Are you able to like, if you would like take like you instead of your entire team and devote yourself like your own time to make a fully autonomous code, then give it to them and then use it? Or
there is the
like,
ability
how much
to.
time do you have? Like pretty much between competitions.
There's competition. Like you get the challenge in May, and then like at the in Worlds, or I think it's in March. You get the challenge in March, and then you have all the way until like December to like actually, because December is usually the last, like some of the later qualifiers, and like
Okay, so basically right now, pretty much.
like right now we're like getting into competition.
Yeah.
Like we're getting into the competition season, and like, a lot of it goes into developing the robot. But like if we had like more time, we would like, and like more people, we would have people just developing software rather than like devoting it to the robot kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be mean when I say this, but it's just like real steel. Like one movie that has like the. I kind of get the gist of this, but from that, I kind of feel like it's similar, but it's really different.
It's in some like with the programming, the whole programming.
I feel like
is
this-
actually really similar, but
Yeah.
I mean, as far as fighting robots go, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And there are actually programs.
There's like programs that where you
Yeah,
actually
where
have
at a high school
offensive-based-
level you can have offensive robots.
offensive-based where it has.
It's
some things
extremely expensive though, and kind of dangerous.
Yeah, because you have to. I'm pretty sure they have like plexiglass walls.
They have plexiglass walls
yeah, they
all
have,
around
like,
the thing.
for projectiles and stuff.
Yeah,
I
and
had
like
an idea for that once. Like
I mean-
if you were to use like cold, like liquid nitrogen, and lock it.
I don't think they let you use like compressed gas like that now.
Dang it! It just has like
Yeah.
a tank. But
And
that'd
like
be bad too.
in addition to the software that we use, which is like an open source third party, there's also a very basic software that like
Excuse me.
it will only move up and down. It won't turn right now.
Oh.
I don't know right now. They can drive it around.
So, yeah,
This is the extremely basic one. There's drag and drop, and like the Pro is hardly considered Pro.
Yeah.
Like, let's see if I can find the one I had.
Is this open source or is?
This
does this
the
have to be
Vex
bought?
Coding Studio is not, but the stuff we use is actually.
Okay. What kind of stuff do you use? Because I might just want to download this on my PC when I get home. And this.
So this is Pros. So if you go to pros. Let me see if I can pull up the site.
Let me see if I can just.
pros.cs.purdue.edu.
Purdue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hold on.
It's created by their Vex U team.
Huh?
How long ago did you get the V2 stuff?
The V5 stuff we got it like less than a month ago, I think.
It was more than.
No.
So it's pros.
.cs.
.cs. Dot
Purdue.
Purdue.
We're having trouble programming right
Dot
now, so it
Edu.
edu. Okay.
That I've been like buried in
Check
college
my
apps and
link
haven't
as
had
well.
time to program it basically.
doesn't. Huh? No,
Yeah. I'm gonna check my link by the way while I'm standing up.
Yeah.
I'll copy paste it to make sure I put it right.
And another funny thing is,
Yeah, but my
with the
school
Vex
has-
Coding Studio,
my
you can
school
only have
has a
one
base-
program
has
open
a
at
base
once,
built, so
and you can't have multiple projects open at once.
Lincoln.
And we actually like built a software, like I built my own like Java program
Then again,
to like extract their proprietary format, because they decided to do like a containerized thing where each
We ended up
project is stored in
having
one
these
file, and actually base64 encoded inside of JSON, just because they could, and because they decided it would be a good idea for certain environments. But like it doesn't allow you to have multiple like things open at once, and doesn't allow you to like copy from an example to like your actual project, and then like that kind of thing.
So to be honest, can I ask, so when you have the code, right?
Yeah.
How many lines of code would you have to make for the autonomous period? How many lines of code to make like a basic?
I mean, let me pull up my
Objective
last
It
one.
all depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, like what you're trying to do. But like
And
for
you can
this
actually,
year's sort of thing, like how would, for the autonomous period of your objectives for this year, what would it take to be like doing 2 of those objectives, like to get one of them and also park on the pedestal?
So for last year, all of our autonomous programs were 204 lines.
Wow, that's
that's-
not a lot.
That's not a lot, and
That's not a lot considering
that's
how
like
much you have
5
in the
or 6
code.
programs.
Yeah,
Like,
all
look
in
how-
one, and
like,
most
look
of
how-
it's just like
Look how
A
short
lot
some
of
lines
it's
are.
like driving and then like time
Yeah.
based. With this, we're actually able to like reliably do encoders, so we're no longer going to be time based,
okay.
which will be a lot better.
But I mean, like depending on what you're doing, you can like set the motors to how much power you want in that. So instead of being like just full on, like it could go slower, it could go faster.
Yeah, and set like RPM speed and
Yeah.
that sort of thing to limit it.
And if you want to look through like our like, because I haven't found like a lot of people that would just like dump
Oh, you
their
do have a
entire
Git-
project. Yeah, it's
Is
on
this
my
GitHub
Yeah.
public?
Yeah.
Wait, what's your GitHub?
eHammy.
Wait, was it on that page where you said you could take a picture?
No, it was not. That was just
Okay.
my email.
Yeah.
I'll throw a GitHub link in there, and then I'll publish the slides again.
Okay. So you're gonna publish it on the bit.
It's the
On the
Bitly
Bitly.
link, yeah.
Okay. Where's mine? Hey, I want to test that. How heavy are the discs? How much do you have to?
The discs
Have
are
to
relatively light. I think they're like half a pound or so.
Half a pound? That's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
Last year we had these
took it.
things we like affectionately called like hats or sombreros. Like they look kind of like witch hats, and they were like 3 pounds or something because they had like a metal base in them.
Oh.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was
Yeah.
Yeah.